Well, so we're going to move away from, things to avoid and sort of the barriers that can get in our way, and move on to looking for ways to collaborate, because really collaborating is what it's all about. Collaborating is also not always easy, so we're going to give you some suggestions for how you can make it go a little smoother. So one of our favorites is asking the question, what if? So perhaps you're talking about your child and a specific problem, and you might have a different suggestion than the school has. And so one of the things that you can try is, what if we let John have a one-to-one aide for 6 weeks? Or what if he could leave the class 5 minutes early? What if someone went with him? So especially when they're coming up with why something won't work, what if we could try it for just a few weeks? Sometimes can sort of remove that barrier for them, because if it doesn't work, then we'll try something else. And I think that you letting them know, I just want to try this, and if it doesn't work, then we can try something else, it sort of, again, shows that willingness to do give and take. And then looking for alternatives. Asking everyone at the table, what other things have been tried in this same situation? What other ways can we do this? And being willing to try different things. Those two sort of go hand in hand. Another important thing at these meetings is to take notes. And if possible, like Laura said, to take someone with you. That can be really helpful, because sometimes it's amazing how much information can be shared in 20 minutes. And you may not remember it all later, but you want to be able to come back to it. So taking some notes so that you can refer to them later can be a very helpful way to stay involved. For me, I love taking notes. I know for other people they don't like taking notes, so they would bring someone along. Like, to me, taking notes keeps me engaged. So it's sort of knowing your own style. And then at the end of the meeting, recapping the important points. Especially ask when the task will be complete. So let's say that an evaluation is ordered. You could ask, when can I expect that to be scheduled, and then when can I expect to see the results? So making sure that you're very clear about what's going to happen. If it's adding a new, if it's adding some reading support, when can I expect him to start seeing that teacher? And even asking, how will you be kept up to date on how the progress is going? So making sure that you sort of tie it up in a bow at the end so that you know what's going to happen and when it's going to happen and who's responsible. And our last one is to always say thank you. And I think we would probably say that it's maybe even more important if the meeting doesn't go quite the way you want, because really you're all there for the best of the student, and saying thank you is really going to lay the groundwork for that next meeting, or what, maybe you didn't come to an agreement on something and some more research needs to be done, or some more people need to be involved. By saying thank you, you're sort of laying the groundwork for the start of that next meeting. So another huge part of all of this is what happens in between meetings, and that's the idea that communication is so key, and how to keep those lines of communication open between home and school. So one of the important things is to make sure you check with teachers and anyone else who you need to be in contact with. What is the best way to get in touch with them? Some teachers prefer phone calls. Some teachers prefer emails. Is there a time of day that's good to reach them? What's the best way, and how are you going to stay up to date? Is there something that you need to be updated on weekly so you know what the progress is, and how can you make that happen? Sometimes there's a notebook that goes home, because sometimes it's, for my daughter, for instance, I need to let them know. If there's a flare, I need to let them know what's going on. So it's just as important that I let them know what's going on at home as it is that they let me know what's going on at school. Another piece we say with this, though, is that remember that tone cannot be read in email. So you may get an email that says simply, oh, I wasn't aware of that. And it could be simply that the person is saying, I wasn't aware of that, but you could also read it as, well, I wasn't aware of that, so I didn't know. Make sure you don't read that tone into it. If you have questions about what their concern is, if you have questions about something they said, ask them about it, either in person or on the phone or in another email. But make sure that you always seek clarification. And then the last one is about that communication piece is, as soon as you start to see something, as soon as you start to see, wow, math used to take him 20 minutes and now it's taking him 40 minutes and he's really frustrated, don't wait too long to address that. Make sure that as quickly as possible you start letting the teacher know, even if it's just a quick email, wow, for weeks math only took 20 minutes and now it's taking 40 minutes. That little bit of information might be all the teacher needs to make a small change in the classroom or to make sure she does some reteaching to solve a problem. So that really immediate feedback is very important. So we're going to talk about some other ways to be involved in the meeting and be an active participant in the meeting. And the first one we talk about is make your child real. So if possible, bring a picture of your child. There's nothing better than sitting around at a meeting table and letting everyone know who they're talking about, because sometimes at these meetings there will be people who may not have met your child. Write a brief summary about your child, what's going on, maybe their interests, maybe what you see as the main concerns, and again, keep that very brief. You can also bring your child if appropriate, and remember, this doesn't have to be all or nothing. You can bring them in for just a few minutes of a meeting, or if they're able to stay for the whole meeting, they can stay. Even for a very young child, it's appropriate to bring them and start to get them used to the fact that the people around this table are going to be working on their program, and maybe the first time they just speak for just a sentence, but that's practice for them eventually. When we really want them, when they're in high school, we kind of want them running their own meetings. So if they don't ever get that practice as a young child, it's much harder to get there. And then for your own self, being an active participant, asking lots of questions. If you don't understand something, asking them to slow down. If they are explaining things in an evaluation that you don't understand, making sure that if they're using a lot of alphabet soup, all the acronyms we have, IEP and CSE and all the other ones, if you don't understand something, making sure you sort of slow them down and have them explain it. And then lastly, to just make sure that you're assertive with what you want, but not aggressive, because you're always constantly trying to build this relationship, because these are people that most likely you're going to be in a relationship with for a number of years. And even if it's not the exact same people, you're going to be in relationship with their coworkers. So anything you can do to keep that relationship cooperative and collaborative is going to be helpful. Now I'm going to talk just a little bit about other ways to get connected in the school so that you can find other ways to find out information about what's going on in school, because Laura had mentioned, some of the best people to get information from is other parents. So these are some ways to connect with other parents and other people in the school. So one of them is to ask to volunteer. A lot of teachers now will have, volunteers to come in and when students are learning to read, to be readers or to do a math group. So ask to volunteer. You could volunteer at events like, picnics or open house. So find those volunteer opportunities. Attend PTA meetings. That's another great way to hear about what's going on and to share concerns if you have them, because that's sometimes a great funnel back into the administrators about so that they hear what concerns parents have. And then just going to the open house. I now have been to more open houses than I'm sure I couldn't even count, but each one is a new open house really, because every time it's a new teacher and a new grade, and it's new for that whatever grade my child is going into. And it's important to sort of set that relationship up. And now you've seen the teacher space, and you've seen some of the other parents, and you've seen some of the other kids, and they've seen you. And that's all about building that collaborative relationship. And we are reaching the end here, and we just want to end with some of what Laura said in the beginning, that you are such a valuable member of your child's educational journey. For a lot of us, we didn't necessarily see our parents be involved, but really the parent is the expert on the child, and they know those things about the child that educators might not know. Sometimes a parent can tell a teacher something that seems small to us because we just know to do it. We know our child's quirks and little things that work for them, and it can really change the relationship that teacher has with the child, because now they have an in. So you're such an important member. So just, a reminder to be active in the decisions about your child in school, and, ask for reports and report cards and evaluations, and to get copies of those so that you can stay up to date on what's going on. And, make sure when you that you're asking that big question that Laura started in the beginning. What kind of meeting is this? What is the purpose of this meeting, so that you know what you want to get out of it? And I will turn it back over to Pam.
Thanks, Jenny and Laura. You've shared a lot of great information this evening. And I'm going to ask our attendees, if you have a question, a recent webinar, I believe I closed the webinar while someone said they were still typing and they didn't get a chance to finish. So if you have a question, if you could just start by saying, I have a question, hit send so that I know, and I won't close things down while you're trying to compose your question for Jenny and Laura. So I'm not seeing anything right now, but I'm going to leave our webinar open for a bit so that I don't, so that we don't limit people's options on being able to ask questions. So we're glad that you could all attend. We have several more webinars coming up. I believe there's one February. The next one is a daytime webinar. I'm pretty sure it's February 26th at noon, and that's on preparing for the annual review. And then we have one coming up in April on advocacy steps. That one is not yet on our website, but will be soon. So, and we have quite a few in-person workshops. For those of you that are in the Monroe County area, check our website. We have several workshops coming up, like I said, that are in person. We have a Creating Your Advocacy Notebook workshop coming up. Jenny, didn't you say that was coming up in the next week or so, I think? Maybe the...
It is. It's coming up on Wednesday.
Okay.
At 10 o'clock in the morning.
That's a terrific workshop for getting organized and learning how to articulate a vision for your child and sort of setting that foundation for advocating for them. So those in-person workshops are listed on our website, and you can register for those. Our website, in case you don't know, is www.advocacycenter.com. And we have a sister website that is specialedparentcenter.org?
Yes, specialedparentcenter.org.
Right. And that site has a tremendous amount of resources that are specific to the school system. So there are sample letters that you might use to request an evaluation, or a variety of other topics that might be of interest to you as a parent who has a child in the school system. Okay, we do have a question from Lori. When at a meeting, is everything that is said during the meeting recorded, or just the main points?
Oh, Lori, that's a really good question. When you say recorded, I guess I'm going to address two different issues. Almost all meetings aren't recorded using a tape recorder. But when we talk about recorded, there's usually the secretary from the Committee on Special Education is making notes. And the purpose of them is to make the main points. How much they're actually making is actually a really good question. You could ask to get a copy of the notes from the meeting to just review them and make sure if you're feeling uncomfortable that they're not biased or someone's opinion, that there really should be fact-based. Great question, Lori.
Okay, I'm not seeing any more questions right now. I think we'll wait another couple minutes just to make sure that everyone who's in attendance has an opportunity to voice those questions that they have. Do you, Jenny or Laura, have any closing remarks other than you've done a pretty nice summary of the material? Other than we've done a little bit of promotion here in terms of advertising other events that are coming up.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank everyone for listening tonight, and again, feel free to try our other webinars or in person. We're always available. If there's something that you want more information on and you want to know if we have a training, feel free to email us or let us know if you're looking for an additional training, because we want to make sure that we're out there supporting families and their needs. So thank you.
We do have another question from Aaron. Is there a website or source for laws or policies of what a school can and cannot do?
Well, in New York State, there's the NYSED website, which I believe is www.nysedk12.org. But a good national resource is called Rights Law, and it's Rights is with a W, W-R-I-G-H-T-S, law. And what you need to be careful there is just to make sure that whatever state you're in, that the information is appropriate for your state. In most cases, it's going to be pretty close. So the NYSED website is going to have regulations, which are the Part 200s of the regulations are what you'd be looking at for special education. And that pretty well lays out what schools can and cannot do, but it's also the sort of letter of the law. Within the spirit of the law, sometimes there's nuances about how it really is in schools. So, feel free to call us and ask if you have specific questions about something that you think, should or shouldn't be happening. But the regulations are going to get you started. The good thing about those regulations is it's a very searchable document. So if you want to look at speech and language, you can search for that and find the spots where that shows up. So that's helpful in sort of focusing in on a topic.
Jenny, do you want to take a quick tour do you want to go to the Family School Partnership website and show them the links that are on there? I know that there's a link to Rights Law. There's probably a link to the New York State Education Department. You could just bring up a browser and kind of take people on a quick tour.
Sure. So am I live now? That means
you are. Yep.
Are you seeing my screen?
We are. Yep.
So if you go over here to special education, that's going to be, this was taken directly from the NYSED website, and it's got links in here going back to the NYSED website. So I'm going to come down here to school age.
And just to remind people, you are on specialedparentcenter.org is the website, and that link has
switched over to the special education for New York State. So this is, we look for the Part 200s, I believe. Let's see how good I am. These are all the publications and education laws and regulations, which are going to take us to the Part 200s. See, I've been there before. And so there's the whole complete document, which is, it's pages and pages and pages. I mean, it's 215 pages, in fact. So it's not exactly light and exciting reading. But let me go back, and I want to show you our links also. So if you click on resources and come down to links, and then if we look at, I believe it's National Links Rights Law is right there, and that's going to take you to Rights Law. And this is probably more information than you could possibly ever want. They do offer some trainings, and they have books and DVDs, and I believe it's also pretty easy to search on this website as well. So this is going to be mostly based on federal law, but federal law, New York State can, if we're talking about any state can do more than what federal law requires, but they can't do less than. So it may be that there's more that your state offers, but they can't offer less than the federal IDEA laws. So
thanks, Jenny. There's a quick tour. And we do have another question from Lori. She has a CSE meeting coming up next week to add occupational therapy to her child's IEP, and she wonders if at that meeting she wants to have an updated functional behavioral assessment and Vineland adaptive evaluation. Should she ask for those at the meeting or do it later in writing?
You could do one of two things. Again, a good question is you could, I always like to follow things up in writing. So you could bring the request in writing and give it to them at the meeting. Or you could wait till after the meeting and see how things go. But I think those are always good things to have updated and to have more information on. So I don't think there's a right or wrong way, Lori. I think it's, I'm going to say, trust your gut as a parent. Whatever you feel is the right thing to do before, after, or during the meeting, it is always okay. I would say focus on getting the OT first, and you could say, I just have one more thing. That's not going to take away from the meeting. It's really just asking a request for an evaluation, so there should be very little discussion about it, unless you feel that you want to have a discussion around it, and then you might want to talk about either extending your time or having another meeting. But if you just want to get an eval, I don't think it's harmful either way. I think it's good information to get the process moving and going as quickly as possible.
Thanks, Laura. Okay. Well, I'm going to wait a few more minutes because each time I've thought that we were done, there's been another question coming in. So let's give people a little bit more opportunity to
You know, Jenny, could you show on the parent-school partnership the resources for, actually, and this may tie right into Lori's, requesting an evaluation?
Oh, great. The sample letters, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So Pam, am I ready now?
Sure, you are. Go ahead.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I went under resources, I went to documents, and now when we look down, scroll down through, and actually before I get there, I just wanted to let you know that we do have a lot of things in Spanish as well. So we have more than most sites. We're very proud of our Spanish offerings. So just to let you know, a little shout out there for our Spanish offerings. And so these are all the sample letters we have. So we actually have a sample letter requesting an FBA. And so this is basically a Word document. And Pam, will they be able to see this?
Yes, they should. We're seeing what you're doing.
Just amazing. Mm-hmm. Okay, so this is, you have to go in and put your own information in here. So you'd put the name of your CSE chairperson and the school district. And one of the great things this does is this gives you a place to sort of come up to support your request. So in here we've given you some examples. So what you do want to do is make sure that you go through this and personalize it. But it gives you the basic framework, and then you just have to go in and edit for your child's specific information.
Thanks, Jenny.
And then, yes, and we have 6 other letters on there. And even if it's not an exact what you need, I think there's enough here that it can give you the sort of template of how the letter needs to be written.
Jenny, can I have you flip over to the Spanish language portion of the site? I know that most of our audience is probably not Spanish speaking, but I also wanted to let people know that on the resources page in Spanish, once you get there, we have just posted links to our webinars that we've done in Spanish. So,
and there they are.
If you scroll down there, I've learned a little bit of Spanish from my Spanish coworker, Maritza. So seminario grabado means recorded webinar, and that first, I won't try to say that in Spanish, but the first one there is parent involvement, and the second one, which is in 2 parts, is promoting graduation. And actually, I do know that the translation of that is the path to graduation. So that we just did yesterday, and we have that posted in 2 parts. And we're very pleased to be able to offer those resources in Spanish. So, okay. Anything else that you want to add, Jenny? I mean, you could go back to the English site, and if there's anything else on the Family School Partnership that you want to highlight, this would be a great time to do it.
Well, I will just add that we will have this offering posted in the next few weeks. So if you know of someone else who could benefit from it, we will have this one posted, because I think this is a really good nuts and bolts training on just the basics of going to a meeting.
Do you want to go back to the English version of the site and just navigate to there so people will know where to find it?
Sure. So it will also be under resources, under videos and audio offerings. And we already have some. We actually have an older training that's broken down into pieces. This one that's called Making a Referral to CSE. And then here are our other Spanish workshops. So it'll show up somewhere on this page, probably down towards the bottom. And that's where that'll be. Oh, we also actually, up at the top here, I didn't realize, we also have Transition 101 and diploma options.
So lots of recorded resources there for folks on special education related topics. And as Jenny said, we'll be posting this one in the next few days, probably by the end of next week. And we'll send a link that out to those of you that attended in case you want to watch it again. Okay, do we have, I don't see any other questions. So I think we're probably good to go. Thank you so much for attending, and Jenny and Laura, thank you so much for sharing your expertise this evening with everyone who attended.
Thank you, Pam.
Thanks, Pam.
Okay.